I hear you. It's just I had 2.5 years. The long road that has been. I had to go. Yeah, it's okay. And I don't know that one. You never know if it's over. Well, I know. so much, and you played it with Mark. Wonderful. Oh, yeah.
Good morning. Welcome to First Church. If you are visiting for the first time, I'd like to invite you to make sure that you get over this way to coffee hour so we can greet you more appropriately. It's going on and off, huh?
Yeah, interference.
All right, well, we'll hope it works. All right. Now I'm thrown off. Hello. If you are in need of a mask, there are all these lovely masked people sitting over there, which is where, you are safe with your mask. The only announcement I can think that I have is we have a budget meeting, congregational meeting after the service today. If you would like to stay, please stay if you are a member. Let me say that, right? Yes. Before we start, would you all please take a deep breath with me? And let us turn our cell phones off and be present with one another this hour.
From our
Judy Jolett, the coordinator of the soup shop, and I just want to say a few words. I want to thank Kaeza for writing this fun song. It was really just great writing. It's amazing. You just say, would you do this? And she goes, yeah. I want to thank the choir for singing this and gesturing. I want to thank Kip for her incredible art that you see all the time. It's so special. I want to thank the soup makers who spend hours and hours shopping and cooking. I want to thank the soup purchasers who come week after week when Soup Shop is in season and purchase and write notes and return our jars with the lids with no dents, please. I want to thank the fundraising committee who organizes this project and runs it and sits at the table, and Debbie who inspires us. And I want to thank the universe for inspiration that when a tiny idea seed is planted, many acts of love blossom. Thank you.
Good morning. When I was a kid, I was pretty good at remembering people's birthdays and, Father's Day and Mother's Day. And I'd always make something special for everyone. One Mother's Day, though, I spent the night before at my friend Martha's house, and I woke up and I realized that they were going to brunch to celebrate Mother's Day, and I had done nothing for my mother. So I'm walking home and I'm feeling terrible, and I get to my friend Paul's house, and he's got this enormous, beautiful lilac bush in the back of his lawn. So I sneak to the back of his lawn to behind the bush, and I rip off some really big branches of lilacs for my mother. But I'm afraid that if I walk back, somebody's going to catch me, so I walk behind all the houses. And on that street, behind all those houses, was a parking lot to a church. So I'm walking through the parking lot to the church, and I'm like, oh my God, this is double, like sinful. I'm walking away with, I'm like a thief, right? I'm gonna get smote by God. I made it though, not getting smote. And I made it to my house, and I went to my mother's sewing room, and of course I found a beautiful ribbon, and I wrapped it up, and I made a card for her, and I gave it to my mother, and she was so happy to get that from me. And she put it in a bouquet that was already put together and made by my dad that had been given to her. And something happened in that my kind of makeshift slapdash kind of worn and torn lilacs actually made that whole bouquet better and more beautiful. I actually think that's one of the reasons that we come to church and we celebrate flower communion. We come because we often have this self of ours that we show up that's kind of worn and torn sometimes and imperfect. And church says, who cares? Bring it anyway. Your imperfect self all together makes everything beautiful. I invite you to come forward with your own imperfect self and your imperfect flower and put it in one of the vases. There are some back there. There are some up here. I invite you to come forward at this time. There's one over there for all of you in the loft. This is the Gab. This is the gabbiest group of special, fantastical, magical moment about to happen right now.
All right. So, okay. With sincere apologies to the Knack for kind of cribbing their one-hit wonder from 1979. This one's for you, Kaeza. Hit it, Ricky. You are choir's number one. You get it done. Smiling while you keep us in line, Kaeza. Oh, the congregation's stunned. Having fun, almost have them clapping in time, Kaeza. Never gonna stop, keep it up, make the music soar, always fired up. Sunday morning, keep them wanting more. Kai, 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 woo! Kai, Kaeza. Making tracks for every part, head start, keeping us from falling behind, Kaeza. Everything you do is art, big heart, and singing social justice in rhyme, Kaeza. Never gonna stop, keep it up, make the music soar, always fired up. Sunday mornings, keep them wanting more. Kai, 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 woo! Kai, Kaeza.
Don't forget our dapper Dan, Anthony. Vocals, keyboards, horns, what a fine Kaeza. Choir feels like a family, a family. Singing in harmonic sublime, Kaeza. Never gonna stop, keep it up, make the music soar, always fired up. Sunday mornings, keep them wanting more.
Kai, 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 woo!
This morning with these words. We gather this morning as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the magic that we share together. Would you please join with me in our affirmation words? We believe in love.
Love is the doctrine of this church.
We believe in truth.
The quest for truth is its sacrament.
We believe in helping others.
And service is our prayer.
We believe in the sacredness of life.
To the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine.
This is a time in our service where we extend our heartfelt gratitude to organizations in the community that share similar values and do such great work, both locally and around the world. This morning's offering is a split plate with the Tree of Life Education Fund, which is a nonprofit corporation established by the First Congregational Church of Old Lyme to provide cross-cultural and transnational travel experiences, interfaith conferences, and educational opportunities to help participate, become more enlightened and more engaged in making this a more just and peaceful world that we live in. Let us be reminded that the religious person is the grateful person is the generous person. We'll take the offering now mindfully and gratefully.
Set the clock of your heart. 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 Raise the clock of your talents of your life. Taste the joy of being awake. Raise the clock of your talents of your life. Taste the joy of being awake. It's the best that matters in your heart. Taste the joy of being awake. It's the best that matters in your heart. Taste the joy of being awake. Set the clock of your heart. 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 Raise the chalice of your life. Taste the joy of running away. Raise the chalice of your life. Taste the joy of running away. It's the best that matters in your heart. Taste the joy of being awake. It's the best that matters in your heart. Taste the joy of being awake. Set the clock of your heart 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 awake. Set the joy of being awake. Taste the joy of being awake. Taste the joy of being awake. Taste the joy of being awake.
invite you to join with me now in the spirit of meditation and prayer, followed by some shared silence. Please get yourself comfortable in your seat. Take a deep breath in with me now and turn inward. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wing. I know this rose will open. There's a certainty with knowing. I wish I had it all the time. I bet you do too. That knowing that things will work out, a faith of sorts in oneself that whatever comes our way, we can handle, we can have the tools at our disposal, that we are capable. A faith that we won't have an achy piece of ourselves that trembles in the face of our fears. For me, that's why this song hits so deep in the gut and heart and mind. It's a reminder that we have a choice in the matter, that we are not passive observers in the face of perils and problems. We can talk ourselves into hope. We can make our courage manifest and true if only we sing it and say it and believe it, if we ask it and prove it into being. So this morning, let that be our blessing. I'm going to sing with the choir that song again. Let it wash over you and sink in. Let it open you to the possibility of what is yours. Let whatever fear you have lying in front of you fade, evaporate, dissipate. Let it relinquish its hold on you and be yours no longer. I know this rose will open. 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 May the silence we have shared continue to hold and heal us all. Amen. It is a late afternoon in Titusville, Georgia, the city of roses. There is a homeless man sleeping on a bench outside of the music store, and Mrs. Helgert is in the municipal rose garden picking roses. Mrs. Helgert was Rose Queen in 1931, and ever since she thinks it's her due right to pick roses out of the municipal garden. Now, no other Rose Queen has exercised that right, but nobody stops Mrs. Helgert either. have never been a rose queen, so I step myself outside of the garden, and she passes roses off to me. She says to me, "Oh, honey, it's okay. I was rose queen in 1931. Can you just smell that rosy air?" she says. These are the kind of roses that have been hybrid so much that they bloom all the way to December, but they have no scent to them. But Mrs. Helgert is trying to forget that she's losing her sense of smell and her short-term memory, so I do not remind her that they are unscented. She starts telling me, as she comes out of the garden, she passes the roses to me, and I pass them into her arms. And she says to me, "Home, home. Mr. Helgert is in need of his supper." We walk off to home, but Mr. Helgert hasn't needed his supper since 1981 when he died of prostate cancer. But it doesn't really matter. We walk home anyway. We get to her apartment, and she's in the little kitchen with a crystal vase that she puts the roses in. And she starts telling me about graduation night. It turns out that all the library tables were covered with white tablecloths, and for each graduating girl, there was a vase of white flowers for them. Bridal wreaths by Rhea, and except for Mrs. Helgert, who had her own vase of white roses. That was a hot, hot night, she says to me. We go into the living room with our iced tea, and she sits on her chaise lounge languidly. And she looks at the vase of flowers, these bright orange roses next to the window. And they look a little out of place in this kind of dim apartment of hers. "Mr. Helgert bought me those flowers," she says. "Oh, I was rose queen in 1931. It was a hot, hot night," she says. Now, occasionally, the only time that she really leaves is her criminal foray into the rose garden at town, because she's kind of content to be in this house where Mr. Helgert's hat still sits next to the front door, and his socks are neatly stacked up in the top left dresser drawer. I convince her that we should go for a walk because our new horticulturist in town has taken a rubble-filled alley and made it into this exquisite flower garden. Our horticulturist was Willie Nelson's horticulturist, and he came down here with all these grand ideas about exuberant flowers that lasted all year round, and anytime there is like a little patch of rubble that needs a flower, he adds a lantana to it. We walk into this herringbone brick pathway, and we get to a little bench, and we sit down, and we wait for the moonflowers to open. "Mr. Helgert made this garden," she says to me. And then I remind her, though, of our city horticulturist and of lantana and, Willie Nelson. And I sing to her, "On the road again, I can't wait to get on the road again." Willie Nelson is a famous singer, I say to her. "Ah, Willie Nelson," she says, bluffing, "a famous singer." I show her these beautiful flowers that are in front of us, the mandevilla with this waxy, pink throat on it. "Vulgar flowers," she says to me. And I think of the white bouquet that she had at graduation. Though Mr. Helgert, she says, tends to love vulgar flowers. We get up to leave and we walk back, and we have to walk by the municipal rose garden. I should pick some roses for Mr. Helgert, she says. Oh, no, Mrs. Helgert, no. Oh, you don't worry, she says to me. I was Rose Queen in 1931. That was a hot, hot night. Mrs. Helgert is not alone. Truth is, all of us struggle to hold on in one way or another. She to Mr. Helgert and her moment as a beauty queen, us, well, we're trying to hold on to so many things, it seems to me. Dreams from the past we're not ready to give up on yet. Faith in the future, our children's love and respect, a sense of calm in the midst of busy days, hope in the midst of a world that events seem to easily overwhelm us. Our values, our sense of self-confidence, connection to friends, commitment to that diet we keep talking about. No doubt about it, holding on isn't easy. Keeping the beauty and joy of our lives front and center is no small task, actually, which is exactly what gives this flower communion ritual its weight. Make no mistake, really. Despite appearances, this communal act we are about to share together is neither sentimental nor sweet. Part of the reason it becomes an annual event in Unitarian Universalist churches around the country is precisely because of its honest acknowledgement that life can be hard. It's full of pain and loss, but it also has beauty and joy. It's what led me to pick that story of Mrs. Helgert this morning, which focuses on roses. What better flower to represent life than a rose, right? Beautiful petals next to thorns. It seems to me it reminds us of the beauty and joy of life and how immense it can be, but it's not without its dangers and inevitable pricks of pain. And yet the story of Mrs. Helgert is also about grace. This, too, I think, is why it's a gift. It's an affirmation and celebration that in the midst of our struggles and loss, along comes this subtle, simple gifts that we don't earn, expect, or even deserve: grace. Gifts of beauty and joy that save us over and over again. Blessings offered us over and over again. A renewal in body and spirit. This, too, actually is what our flower communion is about. It's not about the beauty of the rose garden and the memories at a time when life was good that saves Mrs. Helgert. It's about having someone to tell your story to. It's that companionship, that exchange of listening and telling, of seeing and being seen, that is the most beautiful part, it seems to me, of that story. It's also the story of our church community. June offers us actually a time to reflect back on the year of giving each other the gift of grace, of listening and telling, of being seen and seen. Such friendships are no small things. We're asking ourselves what it means to live into a sense of renewal, something that can revive us. And it seems to me that to believe in all of that means that you cannot do it alone, ever. None of us could hold on to blessings by ourselves. Without a place to bring our joys and sorrows, it's harder to feel them deeply. Without friends who remind us that we deserve joy, we can so easily stay focused and wrapped up in our losses and disappointments. Without a church that declares we are born good and are worthy, the contrary visions of humans as sinners and consumers can easily take over. Simply put, it's not just friends we find here. It's lifelines, lifelines to beauty and joy, to the blessings that are ours, to a renewal that guides us and heals us. So how has this community been your lifeline this year? I want you just to take a moment and think of a time that something happened to you where you were connected deeply to this place. And I want your flower that you brought up, that flower that you placed in the vase today, to symbolize that gift that you received. Think of a friendship here at church that's been particularly important to you, even life-saving to you. Think of a small group experience you had this year in which you were able to share honestly and be vulnerable in a setting of trust and safety. Think of a sermon that comforted you, or one that made you uncomfortable in a helpful way. Think of a way in which you were invited to put your faith into action or serve needs greater than your own this year. Something that helped you break out of the selfishness that we all have, the me-ism that consumes us so often. Think of a moment when the music of our worship healed you with its beauty, or inspiration brought you back to life with its energy. Think of a moment. Whether you are new here or a longtime member, think of a moment this year when you felt it deeply, that feeling of being home. Since many of these experiences are too intimate or too detailed for all of us to share right now, let us be sure to share them with each other during coffee hour and ask each other about them. For now, I want you just to take a moment to bring these experiences, these lifelines, into your mind and your body and your spirit, and sit with them in gratitude. Let the flower you brought with you represent one small but important way that the church has helped you experience and hold on to that blessing and gift. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to come up and pick a flower that you did not bring with you, but another person's flower. They too have their own reason to feel blessed in this community. That's why these bouquets are especially beautiful, if we can look a little deeper than their own flourishing selves. So now I'd like you to come forward or move your way over in the loft up there and pick a flower that you did not bring in, one that someone else brought here today, and hold on to it as a symbol of what you've received here at the church, but also of the responsibility actually that we have to keep sharing and passing along the blessings of this place with each other every single time we show up together. I invite you to come forward at this time and pick a flower. My friends, with the awareness and diversity of the gifts that we offer and receive, I offer one of my favorite readings by Reverend Max Coote. This is a reading celebrating friendship. He doesn't use flowers, but he uses vegetables. It's about the same thing. As I read it, I ask you not just to look at the flower that you hold, but I want you to look at the faces around you as well. There are friends, generous friends with hearts as big as Hubbard squash and smiles as bright as their blossoms. Feisty friends as tart as apples. Continuous friends who, like scallions and cucumbers, keep reminding us that we've had them. Crotchety friends as sour as rhubarb and as indestructible. Friends who are as gorgeous as eggplants and as elegant as a row of corn, and others who are plain as potatoes. So good for you, friends, who are silly as Brussels sprouts and as amusing as Jerusalem artichokes. And serious friends, as complex as cauliflower and intricate as onions. Friends as unpretentious as cabbages, as subtle as summer squash, as persistent as parsley, as delightful as dill, as endless as zucchini. And who, like parsnips, can be counted on to see you through the winter. There are old friends, nodding like sunflowers in the evening time, and young friends as fast as radishes. There are loving friends who wind their hearts around us like tendrils and hold us up despite our blights and wilts and witherings. And finally, there are friends now gone and going, like gardens past that have been harvested, who have fed us in their times so that we may have life after. For the sacred garden of friendship that not only makes us rich, but makes us who we are. Let us say amen. 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 Would you please join in singing our final hymn, please, and rise in body or in spirit for hymn number 308, The Blessings of the Earth and Sky. not just a budget meeting, it is the annual meeting. So please come and be present. Annual meeting, not the budget meeting, yes. All right, that's that. Would you please join hands for the closing words? Whatever we can do or dream we can do, let us begin it. Boldness has genius and power and magic in it. May we ever be bold. Did you hear me? In our living and in our loving. Let's hear an amen!
Oh, I didn't see